Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Full Submission Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Allen. We are on episode 4, the beginnings, part 2. I wasn't going to do a part 2, but however, episode 3 lasted way longer than I thought it was going to. I think it was good too because it doesn't really beat a dead horse on a lot of issues and things like that. I went back and listened to that podcast, and I'm super sorry about all the coughing. Like I said in the podcast several times, I was just like I said, I could have done better and probably waited and recorded that now. My voice is not 100% back, but I'm not coughing my head off, and I feel relatively better from episode 3. So. Thank you for just letting me power through that one, and um, you know we'll get better as we go. We're still live from the kitchen table, so the lighting's terrible. The camera on the laptop's still terrible for the people who want to watch on YouTube. Um, Still suck at editing. That's a really weird, hard word for me to say, but anyway. Hey, thanks everybody for the support that you've given so far. We're getting a lot of streams on Spotify. The YouTube channel's not doing all that great right now, but I know that it will in the future. The social media pages, y'all, please, every one of them, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, everything. Go in there, smash that like button. If subscribe's an option, hit the subscribe. These things will eventually get this podcast to where I would like to see it go. But that's going to be completely listener based. So if we want better visual, we want better audio, better episodes, things like that, bringing, people in that you may be interested to hear. Like if you're tuning into Full Submission and you're like, hey, I know so and so, that would be a good fit to come on and talk with you on your podcast. Well, if I'm over here and only got one view on YouTube and a couple of listeners on, each and other thing, they're going to be like, nah, this guy sucks. So if you guys could, even if you don't listen to the full episodes or maybe podcast isn't your thing, if you're hearing this, please just give us a like and a follow, and eventually we will return the favor in some kind of way. Um, that's really all I got for the housekeeping kind of stuff for the first part of the podcast. Other than a recap for episode 3, we left off in my 17, 18-year-old time period. So that's where this podcast, episode 4, the beginnings part 2, will be kicking off from that 17 on up to a big major life event that we'll be talking about. First of all, like always, I'm going to start off with a Bible verse. And this morning's verse is going to be coming out of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. That's good news. Now all things are of God, who has reconciled us to himself through Jesus Christ. He is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. Amen to that. You can become a new creation as well. And it is a great feeling, and it is a hard path to follow, but a very rewarding one, especially whenever the end goal of your reward is heaven and being in God's presence. I don't think there's a better reward than that. So, I'm going to take a coffee sip and then we'll get into the podcast. All right, so 17 years old, spiraling, doing things that I ought not be doing. Listen to episode 3, you'll get the backstory. Um, I'm at a point where I'm almost into adulthood, but I don't know how to be an adult, and I also don't know how to be a man because two of those things are missing from my life from I guess, a mentor standpoint and from a I don't want to standpoint. Because I'm having way too much fun doing the things I'm doing now instead of, you know, I wish that I could, and I had all the opportunity to be the guy who got labeled as the Bible thumper, or, oh, well, Brett's not going to be on the in crowd, or he's not going to be doing this and that because, hey, that guy, he's fired up about church. That guy's fired up about Jesus. He's not gonna stray off. We can't talk him into that stuff. I wish more than anything I would have took that path, and I had that opportunity. But I bought Satan's lies, and I went full pledge into it. I said, you know what? Any kind of lie that you can sell me, I got money to buy it. Even if, hey, I'll even take the free ones. You know. So I end up in a relationship my senior year. Hadn't, I dated on and off. I never, didn't stick. Like I said in the previous podcast, let's not forget that between, other than me doing things that I shouldn't be doing, I'm also an emotional ticking time bomb inside at all times that I'm constantly combating. So a lot of that had a lot of influence on my choices. And so I get in this relationship, everything's going great. It was kind of a strange beginnings because it actually began after a church service. Um, you know, Here I am hypocritically living, um, but still going to church and still trying to find myself. But I'm not fully submitted, so you can't be on the fence. You're either in or you're out. So this relationship lasts for a little over 2 years, right at 2 years, something like that. Um, 3 months before, yeah, 3 months before the 2 year mark is when it ended. The significance to that is at 18, I'm sitting at a hospital with a person I'm in this relationship with, and the very next day I'm turning 19 with a newborn baby. Yeah. The guy who's running around partying, doing stupid things, doesn't have anything together, um, you know, just feral out there that doesn't know how to be a man, that doesn't know, um, not definitely not how to be a dad. So, from the lack of one, so the only thing that I can think of is I have to do exactly opposite of what I'm doing. And the person that this relationship was with, if y'all can hear that noise, I have an ice machine, okay? And I meant to unplug it before I started recording, and I didn't. So if you hear this, it will go off here in just a second. I'm sorry. But anyway, this person and I'm not going to name drop anybody. The ones that know me, they know all these stories. They know the names. They know the people. So it's fine. But those of you that don't, just know that it may come out eventually. Who knows? Anyway, neither one of us were ready for this moment in our life. And it shows as we try to become parents together and have nothing figured out and continuously trying to live the lives that we were living previously, to the birth of this child. So it ends. This ultimately emotionally damages me further, not only because of what's going on, but now there's a child involved that now has to grow up like I had to grow up, and I promised myself that that would never happen to a child if I could help it. Um, I remember the day my daughter was born, and she was laying on that table, fresh out of her mother's womb. She grabbed my finger. There's a picture on my personal Facebook, and I post it sometimes on Father's Day, sometimes on her birthday. Um, she grabs my finger, and from that moment, she had me wrapped. But I told her, I promise I will never leave you. I will never leave you. You will never know the hurt that I know. Well, 3 months later, that happens. But I did not leave her. Okay. Um, just one thing leads to another. Hey, sin and Satan destroy. His number one target is a family unit, and this family unit was started in sin and continued in sin. It never fixed itself. So I mean, anything that's continuously sinning, anything that's causing you to sin that never lasts, it's always going to fail because only God can prevail. I should be a poet. I lied. I had a cough. Coffee break. So, as I'm drowning myself in alcohol and trying to figure out where my life is going to go from here, I I'm going to speed this part up. I'm going downhill for 2 years. I'm still doing the same old stupid stuff, trying to find myself. I'm not holding a job. I'm not being committed to anything still, like what I talked about in the introduction and a little bit in episode 3. Commitment's not there for me. It's not even in my vocabulary. I can't commit to anything because I don't even know who I am or what I want to do or where I'm going. Never had a plan. I'm just going to go wherever the wind blows. And plot twist, I'm still kind of like that. It's not always a good thing, but it's not always a bad thing. My wife will tell you otherwise. So, anyway, I get in another relationship 2 years later, and I really start squaring away. Like, when I say square away, I mean like fixing a lot of my problems. There's a lot of the things that I was doing from, you know, 15, 16 on up to 21 that I'm not doing anymore. Um, Partying starting to slow down a little bit, but there's a lot of other sin in my life. There's a lot of other things that I'm still chasing. This relationship was a sinful one, and you know, towards the end of that, I ended up being baptized because I was sick of it. I was sick of the guilt. Every day I'm living my life in guilt, and I think that's why I kept running and running and running. Is because the relationships that I was getting in my late teens and early adulthood, these are sinful relationships. They're not going anywhere. Uh, I'm thinking that I'm love, love's not there. They're all lustful relationships. They don't have any backbone to them. Nobody's trying to like hold me accountable for anything I'm doing. I'm not trying to hold anybody accountable for what they're doing. I didn't want that. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I don't want nobody changing me. I just want to go do what I want to do. As long as I'm not physically abusing anybody or emotionally hurting you, like leave me alone. That's my thinking, and that's toxic. That is very toxic. Um, so I finally give up. I start searching for a church. I'm looking for something to do because I'm not in good shape. The alcohol is finally all but killing me. I mean, I'm drinking bottles of whiskey a week now at this point. I'm not even recreationally just having a drink or having a good time with my buddies or anything like that. Like I'm literally getting stone cold, just blackout on the regular, just because I don't know how to deal with it. And a lot of people don't even know. Like people knew that I was doing sinful things, but no one really knew the backside of it. They see that these things happen, but nobody saw the backside when I'm at home, when I'm alone, like what's going on. 'Cause, like, I'm still emotionally damaged. Like, I'm so like my life changed whenever my daughter was born, and things have gotten better for me progressively over the last 12 years. And that's been a huge blessing because she saved my life. If it wouldn't have been for her, I probably would have died already. Um, there's no way I don't know. Even if I wouldn't have been dead, I don't believe I'd be sitting here talking about this story. I don't think I'd be sitting here trying to develop this to inspire you or, spread the love of God anywhere else. I'd probably be under a bridge somewhere shaking a can trying to get some money. I don't know. But it was not a good place to be. But anyway, I researched and researched and researched. I talked to a lot of people. Um, Went to visit a lot of churches on my own. Like nobody was forcing me to do this. Nobody's really inviting me. I just kind of pop in and pop out, several different places because I want to find somewhere I fit in. And most of all, I want to go somewhere no one knows me so I can change. So I'm not being ridiculed and pounded. And I think that's a big thing too. That's a learning lesson for those of you listening. If you continuously go to the same church building, or if you've been a guy like me that's backslid and gotten into a lot of crap, and there's some people there that know what you're doing or where you've been, and yada yada yada, there's going to be some judgment there. I mean, this just is what it is. It's human nature. The church shouldn't just proclaim a bunch of judgment like that and hold somebody back. They should be loving and welcome you in to try to change and try to, encourage the change and ultimately lead you to Christ. There's a lot of people that don't do that. They start the drama, the small town talk, and then next thing you know, you've pushed an entire family out of the church, and those people are now have a bad taste in their mouth about Christ because you were not acting like Christ. So keep that in mind, those of you church folk. Church folk have run away more people from Christ than anything in the world. So I land myself at the Prattville Church of Christ downtown and fall in love with it. It was the first Church of Christ that I'd ever been to since I was a kid and that I could actually remember. The a cappella singing was beautiful, and I could not get over that because I'd always grew up around the instruments and things like that. But like just listening to everyone in harmony, it took me a minute because I didn't really understand all the parts and stuff. Now, going to PCA when I was a kid, I know they tried to teach us a little bit of that stuff, but it never really stuck because we didn't practice that in a Southern Baptist church. And I wasn't in any kind of choir class or anything like that. So I was a little bit lost in the sauce there for the first couple of times I visited the church. It's getting worse. Dang it. But anyway, so uh, I fell in love with that style of music because I felt like that's what it would sound like inside of heaven. Just everyone's voices in harmony praising God. If you haven't experienced it and or maybe that's not your style of worship, I would encourage you strongly to go visit a Church of Christ congregation. You don't, if it sticks, it sticks. If it don't, it don't. But I would highly encourage you go listen to some of that a cappella singing. It is absolutely beautiful. I don't condemn instruments, by the way. That's not. I think I listen to K Love and things like that. I love all the contemporary stuff, but as far as my worship services go, I love them a cappella and I love them old school. I love traditional hymns and things like that. We don't really Hunter Hills. We do some traditional, but it's a mostly contemporary, so it's a thing. I got to get used to that, I guess. Corey, if you ever see this, please let's do some more old school stuff. But anyway, cool. Ultimately I start doing Bible studies with the minister there, the preacher, and yeah, I got hung up on and. I'm sorry. Maybe I can try to figure out how to edit. um, yeah, so we did maybe like a month, I think, or 2 or 3. It was it was 3 weeks to a month Bible study. He wanted me to kind of see the whole shebang, the whole package deal for for salvation and what I needed to do and how I needed to feel, what I needed to understand. And those few weeks were life changing. They were eye opening. Because I mean, I just went from living like Guns N' Roses, just party, rock and roll, whatever, chasing women, whatever I needed to do. That's what I just came from this life, and now I'm sitting in a room with someone, and they're telling me, "Hey, dude, you need to repent. Like you are living like a scumbag, and look, this is what Jesus can do for you. We know that you know who He is. He knows that you know Him, but you gotta wipe all this crap out of your life, and you need to follow Him. You need to trust Him now. Like now's the time." So, hey, I think I went another week and I felt convicted. Bible study happened, and the Spirit I felt, well, I can't really say that I felt the Spirit, but it came upon me that, hey, I need to be baptized. Like, I need to accept Jesus. I need to go in here and proclaim Him and be buried in His death and resurrected in Him. So I was like, hey, let's do this thing. Immediately, bam, I'm in that cold, cold water in February. And, you know, I was buried and risen with Christ. And like Acts 2:38 says, I received my gift of the Holy Spirit at that moment. That was the most beautiful moment of my life. That was beautiful. And if I could relive that moment every single day, Lord, help me relive that every day. It was, I don't want to say magical, but it was magical. It was very, I don't know. You can't explain that. I mean, anything in the spirit is almost unexplainable, and it's beautiful. And I hope that each one of you have experienced that. And if you haven't, please let us know how we can help you get to that point. Um, but yeah, I came out of the water a brand new guy, and I was fired up for Christ. I was like, you know what? Everybody needs this. So I'm learning and learning as much as I can, and like really paying attention to ministry and like how do I say these things for others? Like how can I bring more people to Christ too? I want everybody like this. So I started trying to do Bible studies and stuff on my own, which failed miserably. I didn't have what it took at the time, and I didn't really know how to articulate a lot of things. I didn't know, and I still don't. I'm not claiming to know how to. I'm not a preacher. I never will be a preacher. Um, I'm just a normal average Joe that loves God, and I'm holding myself accountable for doing this because now you see me, you hear me, and you know this is a better way for me to stay accountable because now everybody in the world can see me and they can see what I'm doing outside, and you know now I can be called out just easier than ever now, and that's what I need. I need that accountability. So I end up getting out of that relationship because it was leading me to sin, and I no longer wanted that in my life. So that ends, and I'm good with it. It's fine. It's whatever. I need to find out how to do this the right way. That relationship started in sin. Now I have given my life to Christ, and I can't move forward with sins overweighing um, my regular life other than my church life, and that just didn't wasn't a good fit. So, I was going through a little job crisis, I guess. I was actually a correctional officer at the time at the county jail, and I enjoyed it. I didn't like working 12-hour nights at all. Looking back, it was probably one of the more fun jobs I've ever had. Um, I would do it again. So, talking Metro, if any of you guys hear this, hey, I might would come back, but the reason why I had to leave is because stubborn me, tobacco user, you can't dip. It's part of the rules at the Talk County Metro Jail. People are in that jail for not following rules. One correctional officer, Allen, could not follow the rules, so I was asked to either resign or be terminated for my actions, spitting in cups. And so I left. I chose tobacco over a steady paycheck. So what I did was I joined the Alabama Army National Guard as an infantryman, and yeah, I started gearing myself up for that. I'm still fired up for Christ this whole stint. This is in May of 2017 is whenever that happened. So I'm working at a feed store and doing my RSP drill, recruit sustainment program is what that is, for the National Guard soldiers that are going into basic training. You always start off in your RSP. So I do that up until I ship out in September. I was supposed to ship out September 11th, 2017, but we shipped out on the 12th or 13th because there was a hurricane. But it was pretty cool. 9/11 ship date was intriguing. But anyway, we uh we get up to Fort Benning, 14 weeks. I do that thing. Love hate relationship with that whole experience. I think it is with everyone. Um, I finally graduate. I went to church every Sunday. I did Bible studies in between my bunk and locker most days that I was not dying of sleep deprivation. So I really stayed in the book. I stayed, you know, the course with the Lord as much as I could while I was gone. Break. Talking too much. And it doesn't help that I always pregame myself beforehand. So I basically podcasted before I podcasted. That was not smart whenever my voice has been wrecked. Um, so I might try a cough drop to soothe my um, scratchy voice. But anyway, so I get back from that, and now I think that I'm really cool because not only did I join the Army, I made it through infantry, and now I am a fighting force guy that just has ego this big because that's what the Army did. So now I have this large ego. I'm on top of the world, and I start filling my life with more of me and more of what the Army wants and less of God. So a nasty, ugly transition happens. Now I'm putting myself above my faith. I'm putting myself and my career above everything else at this point. And now um, I come back home. That's the worst part about the guard is like you go and do stuff like that, and then you don't get to go move on and like continue that lifestyle and continue, whatever. And the guard, you're coming back home. You're still gonna hang out with your same loser friends. You're still gonna hang out with, whoever you left. You probably come back and find out that everything is like if you were in a relationship, this person's probably cheated on you the whole time you were gone. Yada yada yada. It's the same old stories over and over. Well, and I don't mean to say loser friends like everyone has loser friends. Like I've had some loser friends, and I've had some really great friends, and I still have great friends. Um, but I also have friends that you need to love from a distance, and I've been that friend too. I am that friend for some people too. You need to love me at a distance. Sometimes you don't always need to be shoulder to shoulder, but I don't want to be that guy anymore. I'm coming on here to repent from a lot of that stuff, and I, I've prayed and I've asked God to fix me so that I'm not a bad influence and that I can be someone worth being a close friend, a mentor, a peer, a good, some what I've been wanting to do my entire life. I'm now finally doing, and I wish that I would have done this a long time ago. But anyway, um, yeah, I started going right back into the same old things. Um, just with a complete disregard to my faith. So I'm back, trying to be the life of the party and women and yada yada yada. Just same old crap that's leaving me coming home feeling like garbage, and next day feeling like garbage. I'm getting nowhere. I'm still having commitment issues, even though I just committed to join the army. I'm fully committed to the army at this point. Like I want more of it. I want all it can give me. But everything else I can't commit to. But this one was like a forced commitment because I don't have a choice but to commit to it. Now that I have made the commitment. Um, take a drink of coffee every time I say commitment. So, um, time goes on. I finally get, after 2 years, I'm full time in the guard. That's what I was striving for. That's what I wanted. I was making some of the best money I've ever made. I had stability, free insurance, all the bells and whistles. And then I deployed 2021. I went into that deployment living in sin, not doing very well at all. And everybody who met me when I moved to Charlie Company 173rd, the people who knew me at Delta Company 173rd, they knew that I was not in my personal life where I was just not cool, man. It wasn't cool at all. A lot of the things I was doing was dumb. I was saying dumb things. That's just who I wanted to be at that point, I just wanted to be stupid. And that's regrettable. And I'm sorry for the ones that I may have said things to that hurt their feelings or, that was very unprofessional. Um, the choices that I made that affected others. Just if anybody ever hears this, I want to apologize and I'm repenting from those sins. And hopefully, moving forward, we can be grown ups, we can be men, we can talk about it. I don't know any special circumstance I'm talking to, but just any way I've negatively affected you, I had a hard time with that. Um, and there's no telling what that face looked like when I was fighting through it. But anyway, I'm a goofball, so you're going to see a lot of weird stuff. But hopefully, I like comedy. I want to make you laugh. I don't want to just bore you by talking about all the same, things, blah, blah, or be a monotone. I'm trying to have influxes and all the good things that you like in a podcast. Um, so, post deployment, I come back home and now I'm completely a wreck. And now I have a list of new issues that's going on. And here I am, making bad decisions, doing stupid things. Eventually, I'm having to make a job transition in the guard. From where I was doing funeral honors, now I'm going into recruiting. Recruiting was bad for me. I could get people. I was doing pretty good. I just had bad leadership, and it just didn't work out. So I got out. Took a business offer. It failed. Tried to do some other things for myself, but I just never could get it kicked off or had the resources to do it because dumb butt me decided to leave my steady paycheck behind before I was ready. Lesson learned from that, everyone. Always think about stuff especially when it comes to your life changing or your money changing, way ahead of time, or either prepare yourself before you make the decision, like well in advance. I know everybody knows that. It's a no brainer. Duh. Like, hey, Brett, why are you telling us something like that? Oh, because I did the exact opposite of that and jeopardized my entire family. So that's cool. Yeah, way to go. Way to be a man there, you know. But anyway, so now I'm married. I completely skipped my first marriage. Everybody knows I have been married and divorced previously. It was very short lived. Didn't date this person very long. Didn't have a full understanding of this person. Made a lot of one just not thinking with this head decisions. And, ultimately that cost me a lot of money and it cost me a lot of issues that should have never came about. I was being someone that I wasn't. This person was someone that they said, or this person wasn't at all what they put on either. So when that clashes and sin clashes, guess what happens? Boom, everything blows up. So that's the lessons for that. Live in sin, you're just going to blow up. If you continuously do the same old thing over and over and over, you're going to get the same old results over and over and over. You have to make change, but in order to make change, you have to trust God to make changes. Read His Word. You know how you make change and you know your guideline? Right here. Open that thing up. Go um, go to a local bookstore and pick you up something like this. Uh, a daily devotional. Every morning I do this. Sometime during the day, sometimes I may or may not forget. I've been going through First Corinthians. I'll just pick a book out of the New Testament or sometimes out of the Old. There's some good stories in there. Um, I'll just pick a book sometimes and I'll just go from chapter to chapter. If it's a long chapter, I'll just go, a few sections and just read, whatever lessons I can get out of them. And I don't really know how to bounce back and forth like a preacher. A really good preacher can like look in Ephesians, yada yada yada, and say, okay, well now we can look in um, John, yada yada yada, and it's saying the same exact thing. So it must, whatever. Are now looking at Thessalonians and blah blah blah, and all of it be the same. They're just trying to prove to you, like, in all these different writers and all these different time periods, yada yada yada. All that stuff is the same. Jesus said it. It's real. Yeah, I don't really know how to do that. I don't know the scriptures that well. Um, but yeah, so my life currently, as we start winding this one down, I've made a lot of dumb decisions, and this whole thing. I'm 31 years old. I have a 12-year-old daughter, almost 9-year-old stepson, a 9-month-old son, and you know, I still am lacking a lot of purpose and a lot of drive for certain things. And I've just had bad decision making, and personal like stuff, but like I don't know. You can put me in some of the worst situations in the world and I'll prevail. You put me in a good position, I'm going to completely destroy it. It's like I don't know how to work it. And that's so backwards. I always find peace in chaos, but I find chaos in peace. And that's what I'm working on, and that's what I'm searching from in the Word of God. I'm searching for mentors to help me with that. And if any of you have ever experienced something like that, if there's peace and chaos or chaos and peace in your life, drop me a comment, send me a message. Let's talk about it. Maybe we can iron out some wrinkles together and try to figure it out. I would love to be able to speak, to someone about it. And there's plenty of people I can go and talk to as well. But the community we're trying to build here on Full Submission is one that can talk to each other about these kind of things, and eventually, people may want to come on and we talk about these issues together. That way it's not just looking at my ugly face and hearing my dumb voice for 45 minutes to an hour or however long we do these things.